On July 4th, America turns 250 years old. But that anniversary is not tonight's story. Somewhere above a dark ocean before sunrise, two of the fastest moving forces in the sky are about to collide, at the exact degree this country was born under. Not similar, the same point in the wheel. This exact return has only happened a handful of times since 1776, and every time it marked a threshold this nation couldn't walk back from. Tonight, we're here for the pattern, not the panic. Every one of those thresholds looked frightening in the moment it arrived, and looks in hindsight like the exact point something had to change. That distinction matters more than anything else we'll cover tonight. On July 4th, 2026, at just under 4 degrees of Gemini, Mars meets Uranus in an exact conjunction. Mars is action, motion without hesitation, the impulse that moves before it asks permission. Uranus is rupture, the lightning strike that ends whatever has already outlived its shape, ready or not. Put those two together and you don't get something that builds slowly. You get ignition. And this ignition isn't a coincidence of timing. Gemini rules communication, technology, the exchange of information. Exactly the language both Mars and Uranus tend to speak loudest through when they meet. This country was born with Mars and Uranus already sitting together in Gemini. Present the whole summer, the Declaration of Independence was drafted, argued over, and finally signed. So when these two return to that same degree, they aren't simply visiting this nation's chart. They're striking its original signature, its birth wound, if you want to call it that. This is, at once, the country's Mars return and its Uranus return, both landing in the 7th house of open enemies and foreign affairs. The 7th house isn't only conflict, it's every relationship the country has to the outside world. Treaties, rivalries, how it's seen from beyond its own shore, all of it activated at once. On the very day the nation turns 250. This isn't the first time this exact signature has returned. In June and July of 1776, Mars and Uranus were co-present in Gemini the entire season. Almost no matter which hour you use for this country's birth, the conjunction was already active above it. In April of 1861, Mars crossed Uranus at 9 degrees of Gemini. Days later, cannon fire opened at Fort Sumter, the culmination of a fracture 2 generations in the making, arriving all at once, the way pressure always eventually does. Not caused by the sky, revealed by it, the fracture was already there, waiting. This whole pattern repeats roughly every 84 years because that's how long Uranus takes to circle the sky once and return to where it started, which means whatever chart you were born under, you'll live through your own Uranus return exactly once. And when Mars arrives at that same degree in the same year, it tends to be the moment that return actually announces itself. In November of 1911, with Mars retrograde in Gemini, the first bomb was ever dropped from an aircraft, a small, forgettable moment that quietly opened a chapter none of us have fully closed since. In August of 1945, as Mars and Uranus drew close again, the atomic age began in the same breath the war ended. Decades of unresolved power released within days. And by 1947, the same signature crystallized into a different kind of rupture again, alliances hardening into what would become the Cold War, and on the other side of the world, independence for India and Pakistan arriving through a partition that left its own deep wound. The pattern doesn't stay contained to one nation, even when it's triggered by one nation's chart. Notice what's actually happening each time. The sky doesn't create the tension. The tension was already there, built up in silence over years or decades. What Mars and Uranus do when they return like this is force whatever's been avoided into the open, convenient timing or not. This is not a prediction of catastrophe. Most returns of this conjunction pass through as personal disruption, nothing that will ever make a history book, but the pattern still deserves respect. Everything so far has been the collective weather, the sky above a nation. What comes next is the same sky, read at a much smaller, much more personal scale, yours. And this spark doesn't stand alone in the sky this July. 2 weeks from now, on July 19th, 4 outer planets lock into a rare geometric configuration, landing at the very same 4-degree point Uranus occupies right now. 4 planets at 4 degrees over 4 days. In numerology, 4 is the number of foundation, walls built to outlast a storm. Whatever this configuration begins isn't built to blow away. A configuration the French astrologer André Barbol spent his life tracking, named decades before any of us arrived at this particular July. Mars isn't the main event here. Mars is the match. What it lights on July 4th is what fully catches on the 19th. We're going to walk through that properly, soon, right here, because it deserves its own full telling, not a rushed mention. Barbot himself read this kind of configuration as the end of a long, chaotic cycle and the beginning of something more constructive. Not because the sky is kind, because pressure, once it's finally released, tends to make room for something new to grow. Tonight belongs to the spark itself and to what it's asking of you personally in your own chart. Step back from nations and history for a moment. This sky isn't only doing something out there, it's doing something in you, wherever you carry the mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. To understand exactly how, you need 3 words most astrology content skips past: square, opposition, trine. A conjunction is 0 degrees apart, the same point in the sky. 2 energies fused into one signal, amplifying each other rather than debating. A square is 90 degrees, 2 energies caught at a right angle, unable to simply blend. It feels like friction because it genuinely is friction. Think of a square as being handed the same problem twice in 2 different rooms until you finally stop trying the same key on both doors. A square means the way you've always handled this is no longer available. Not a punishment, an invitation to find a better way of meeting it. An opposition is 180 degrees, directly across the wheel. Not a battle to be won, not about picking a side. It's an invitation to look at what's standing on the far side of you and ask what it knows that you don't. Growth here isn't defeating the other side, it's building the bridge. A trine is 120 degrees, same element supporting itself. No friction at all, just ease. A door already open before you ever tried the handle. Mars and Uranus, meeting at 4 degrees of Gemini, form a hard cross with anyone near 4 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces. Conjunction, square, or opposition, depending on where you sit. And they form an easier, flowing hand to anyone near 4 degrees of Libra or Aquarius. A door left open rather than kicked in. A close orb matters here. Within about 2 degrees either side of that 4-degree mark is where you'll feel this most directly. And this isn't abstract tonight. 4 degrees is exactly where this whole sky is currently gathered. Same night, completely different experience, depending on a handful of degrees in your own chart. And it isn't only your sign, it's the house this degree falls in for you. And that depends on your exact birth time, not just your birthday. 2 people born the same day can have this landing in completely different areas of life. Let me show you exactly what this looks like on a real chart, mine. My natal Mars sits at 5 degrees of Sagittarius in the 11th house, the house of community, of platform, of the audience we're building together, right here. This transit opposes it, almost exact. not a square forcing a new method, an opposition asking me to look honestly at the other end of that axis. My fifth house, raw, personal, unfiltered, creative expression. The part of making something that exists before an audience ever sees it, before strategy enters the room. What this is asking of me, stop only creating for the platform and let something purely mine come through too, trusting the two aren't actually in competition. It's not comfortable watching a part of yourself that's been quiet for years suddenly want to be loud again, but comfortable was never the promise of this transit. If this transit is squaring your placement instead of opposing it, the invitation is different, not to find the other side of an axis, but to find a genuinely new way of acting on what you already want. That's my chart and my read of it. Yours will read completely differently. Even a handful of degrees changes the entire meaning. You won't know where this lands for you by guessing or by borrowing someone else's rising sign article. You need your actual placements, calculated down to the degree. That's exactly what the birth chart calculator in the description does. It's free and it takes minutes. This is the difference between reading a horoscope and actually knowing your chart. One is a guess dressed up as insight. The other is precision you can build a life around. It will show you precisely where 4 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, Libra, or Aquarius falls in your own chart, right now before this window closes. In 2 weeks, we come back for the moment this spark was always leading toward, when 4 outer planets lock fully into the configuration one astrologer spent his life predicting. It's rare enough it may not happen again in your lifetime. Subscribe to our channel now so you don't miss it. We'll be walking through exactly what it means for every rising sign the moment it peaks. Every threshold needs a spark before it needs a door. Tonight, the spark has been lit. What you build in the light it leaves behind, that's yours to decide. Whatever this window brings you over these next few days, let it be information rather than injury. You get to choose what you do with what gets revealed. You don't need to have this figured out by morning. You just need to keep walking toward whatever just got lit up for you. The lighthouse doesn't stop the storm. It just makes sure you can still see the shore.